The emergency alarm jolted Jack awake in his small repair station orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa. The red light pulsed against the metal walls as he quickly sat up in his bunk, running a hand through his messy brown hair. The computer's voice filled the room with urgency. Priority distress signal received. Passenger vessel requires immediate assistance. Life support systems critical. Jack grabbed his tablet and scanned the details flowing across the screen. His eyes widened as he read the ship's registry. It was a Solaris vessel, one of those luxury cruise ships that carried members of the delicate alien species known for their grace, advanced technology, and complete inability to handle extreme conditions. "Show me the damage report," he commanded, pulling on his station work uniform. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional image of a sleek silver ship with clear damage marks along its hull. Micrometeoroid impacts detected in sectors 7 through 9, the computer reported. Ship's life support systems operating at 47% capacity and declining. Current crew complement: 22 Solaris individuals. Jack whistled low. The Solaris were known throughout the galaxy as one of the most physically fragile spacefaring species. Their home world had perfect conditions: low gravity, stable temperature, and no extreme weather. They had evolved into tall, elegant beings with silvery skin and remarkable intelligence, but their bodies simply couldn't handle harsh environments. "Time until complete life support failure?" he asked, already packing his specialized repair kit. 4 hours and 17 minutes at current degradation rate. Jack nodded, his mind already running through the possible repair scenarios. He'd never worked on a Solaris ship before, but he'd studied their engineering schematics during his certification courses. Their technology was beautiful but delicate, just like they were. "Accept the mission," he said, sealing his repair suit. "Tell them help is on the way." The computer chirped in acknowledgement as Jack made his way to his small but powerful repair vessel. As he began the launch sequence, a new message flashed across his screen. It was from the Solaris ship's lead officer. "Human engineer, this is Lead Officer Maria of the Summer Breeze. We must inform you that the required repairs will involve extended exposure to vacuum conditions. Our database indicates this may exceed safe parameters for most species." Jack couldn't help but smile. They had no idea what humans could handle. Growing up on Earth, with its crushing gravity and extreme weather, had made his species tough. What the Solaris considered dangerous, he considered Tuesday. "Acknowledged, Lead Officer," he replied. "Please maintain current position. I'll reach you in 40 minutes. As his repair ship detached from the station, another message came through. This time from their engineering officer, "Lily, human engineer, our systems indicate you're traveling alone. Standard repair protocols require a minimum 3-person team for external hull repairs." "Don't worry about that," Jack responded, pushing his engines to maximum safe speed. "I've handled worse solo repairs before. Please focus on maintaining your current life support levels." There was a long pause before the next response came. Jack could almost feel their confusion and concern through the text. "We do not understand. Our records indicate that the physical stress of such repairs would be beyond safe tolerance for any single individual." "Well," Jack muttered to himself as he plotted the fastest approach vector to their position, "time to show them what a human from Earth can do." His repair ship streaked through space, leaving Jupiter's massive form behind. Ahead, he could see the gleaming shape of the Summer Breeze, its usually elegant form now marred by the damage that threatened its crew. Jack began running detailed scans, his expression growing more serious as he saw the full extent of the problem. This wasn't going to be an easy fix, but that had never stopped him before. After all, humanity hadn't spread across the stars by backing down from challenges. The Solaris were about to learn firsthand why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's best emergency engineers. Jack's repair ship smoothly docked with the Summer Breeze, the airlocks connecting with a soft hiss. He gathered his tools, double-checked his portable diagnostic unit, and waited for the pressure to equalize. When the door finally slid open, he found himself face to face with three tall, silvery figures who took an immediate step backward. "Oh," the tallest one gasped, her crystalline eyes widening. "You're much more solid than we expected." Jack recognized her voice from the communications. Lid Officer Maria. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with delicate features and skin that seemed to shimmer in the ship's emergency lighting. Behind her, Engineering Officer Lily clutched a data pad to her chest, while the third Cellaris officer gripped the wall for support in the failing artificial gravity. "Don't worry," Jack said, keeping his voice gentle despite his naturally deep tone. "I know humans can look a bit intimidating, but I'm here to help." He deliberately moved slowly, aware that his muscular frame and heavy world walking style might appear threatening to these fragile beings. "We've never actually met a human in person," Lily admitted, taking a cautious step forward. Her scientific curiosity seemed to be overcoming her initial shock. "Is it true that you can withstand pressures of over 1 atmosphere?" Jack nodded, following them as they led him toward the damaged section. "Earth's atmospheric pressure is about 1 atmosphere, yes, but we can handle much more than that when we need to." The Cellaris crew members exchanged glances of disbelief. Their own homeworld maintained a perfect 0.7 atmospheres of pressure. As they walked, Jack noticed how they seemed to float more than walk, their movements graceful, but clearly adapted to much lower gravity than he was used to. "The damaged sections are through here," Maria explained, leading them to a sealed bulkhead. "We've had to evacuate 3 compartments due to pressure loss." She touched a control panel, bringing up a detailed hologram of the ship's damaged sections. Jack studied the display, but he was distracted by the way the crew kept staring at him. Every time he moved, they flinched slightly, as if expecting him to break something. He realized they had probably never seen someone move with Earth-normal muscle density before. "Your artificial gravity seems to be fluctuating," he noted, feeling the subtle changes and pull that the Cellaris crew probably found extremely uncomfortable. "Yes," Lily confirmed, checking her readings. "We're maintaining minimum safe levels for our species, but the system is struggling. We don't understand how you're moving so easily." Jack smiled as he began unpacking his diagnostic tools. "This is actually very light gravity for me. Earth has about 3 times this much pull." He picked up a heavy repair unit with one hand, causing the entire crew to gasp. "That unit weighs 40 standard units," the third officer exclaimed. "It requires a mechanical lift for our maintenance teams." "Where I'm from, we call this a portable unit," Jack explained, trying not to embarrass them. "Now let me show you how we're going to fix your ship." He pulled up his own diagnostic display, switching it to a mode compatible with their systems. As he began explaining his repair plan, he noticed their fear gradually being replaced by fascination. Lily in particular kept scanning him with her instruments, her eyes growing wider with each reading. "Your bone density is remarkable," she whispered. "And your muscle mass. How do you not collapse under your own weight?" "Evolution is a wonderful thing," Jack replied, focusing on the damaged schematics. "Just like your species evolved to be perfect for your world, we evolved to handle ours. Speaking of which," he pointed to a particularly bad breach in the hull. "That's going to need an EVA repair. I'll suit up and—" "Outside," Maria interrupted, her voice rising in alarm. "But the radiation levels alone would—" "Trust me," Jack said firmly, already checking his suit seals. "This is what humans do best. We fix things, no matter the conditions." He looked at their worried faces and added, "Just watch. I think you'll be surprised by what a Deathworlder can do." The airlock chamber felt uncomfortably warm to Jack as he performed his final suit checks. Behind the safety glass, the Cellaris crew watched with a mixture of horror and amazement as he prepared for his spacewalk. Their own EVA suits hung unused on the wall, designed for their delicate frames and looking more like works of art than practical equipment. "The hull breach is approximately 40 meters from your exit point," Lily's voice came through his comm system. "But the radiation levels are—" Well within human tolerance, Jack finished, checking his helmet seals one last time. Remember, we evolved under a sun that actually gives us radiation burns if we stay out too long. This is nothing compared to a summer day back home. He heard soft murmurs of disbelief from the watching crew. To them, Earth's sun would be considered an active hazard, yet humans had thrived under it for thousands of years. Beginning depressurization, he announced, activating the airlock cycle. As the air hissed out around him, he felt the familiar embrace of his suit tightening. Through the window, he saw Maria press her hands against the glass, her silvery features tight with concern. The outer door opened, revealing the star-filled void. Jack activated his magnetic boots and stepped out onto the hull. The damage was immediately visible. A series of impacts had torn through the ship's outer layer, exposing critical systems to space. "I can see why your standard repair procedures wouldn't work here," Jack commented, making his way carefully across the hull. "The whole panel needs to be reinforced before we can even start on the systems underneath. Our repair drones can't operate in this level of solar activity," Lily explained, her voice slightly shaky. "And our engineers, we simply can't handle the physical stress of spacewalking in this region." Jack reached the damaged section and began setting up his repair equipment. Each movement was precise, practiced, the result of years working in similar conditions. He could hear the Solaris crew's amazed comments as they watched his helmet camera feed. "Look at his vital signs," one of them whispered. "They're barely elevated. How is that possible?" "Beginning first weld," Jack announced, igniting his plasma torch. The metal glowed bright as he started repairing the torn hull. Sparks flew off into space, creating brief, beautiful arcs before disappearing into the void. The work was challenging. The Solaris ship's hull was made of advanced alloys he rarely encountered, designed for beauty as much as function. But Jack had studied their engineering specifications, and he understood the principles behind their technology. "Lily," he called out, "I need you to redirect power from the secondary systems in this section. The metal needs to be at exactly the right temperature for this well to hold. But that would mean crossing the power conduits in a way our safety protocols strictly forbid," she protested. "Trust me," Jack said firmly. "Your protocols were written for Solaris engineers. Human hands can move fast enough to make the connection before any damage occurs." There was a pause. Then he heard Maria's voice. "Do as he says, Lily. I think we need to start accepting that human capabilities are different from ours." The power shifted exactly as he needed, and Jack's hands moved with practiced speed. The metal sealed perfectly, creating a seamless repair that would hold better than the original hull. "First section complete," he announced, already moving to the next breach. "Only 5 more to go." "5. Maria's voice was filled with concern. "But you've been out there for nearly an hour already. Surely you need to rest." Jack chuckled, his torch already firing up for the next repair. "This is actually quite relaxing compared to some of my previous jobs. Did I ever tell you about the time I had to repair a mining ship's engine while it was still running?" As he worked, he could hear the Solaris crew's quiet discussions, their tone shifting from worry to amazement. They were beginning to understand that what they considered impossible was just another day's work for a human engineer. "Watch this part carefully," Jack said, beginning a particularly tricky weld. "I'm about to show you why humans are the best emergency repair specialists in the galaxy." Just as Jack finished welding the last hull breach, a violent shudder ran through the entire ship. Red warning lights began flashing in his helmet display, and Lily's panicked voice came through his comm system. "Emergency. The power core is destabilizing. The hull damage was worse than we thought. It's affected the main coolant system." Jack quickly magnetic locked his boots to the hull, preventing himself from floating away as the ship trembled. "Talk to me, Lily. What are your readings?" "Core temperature rising rapidly," she reported, her voice shaking. "Our automated systems are failing. Without the coolant system, we have maybe 20 minutes before total core failure. And that means? Jack asked, already moving across the hull toward the nearest airlock. The core will melt down, Maria cut in. The entire ship will be destroyed. We need to abandon ship. No, Jack said firmly, reaching the airlock. Not happening. Nobody's dying on my watch. He cycled through the lock as quickly as safety would allow, his mind racing through possible solutions. The moment he was inside, he started running toward the engine room. Despite the low gravity, his powerful legs propelled him forward at a speed that made the Solaris crew gasp as he passed them in the corridors. The coolant system, it's behind 3 layers of radiation shielding, Lily explained, struggling to keep up with him. Even if we could get to it, the heat levels are already beyond survivable limits for any species. Jack reached the engine room door, quickly studying the warning displays. The temperature beyond the door was indeed deadly for a Solaris, but humans had something special in their evolution. They could survive extreme heat for short periods. Your safe temperature limit is about 305 Kelvin, right? He asked, already removing parts of his spacewalk suit to increase mobility. Yes, Maria confirmed. Beyond that, our bodies begin to break down. Why? Because humans can handle a lot more than that, Jack said, keeping his voice calm as he stripped down to his basic cooling suit. Our bodies can survive short exposure to temperatures up to 340 Kelvin. We evolved as persistence hunters under a hot sun. This is what we're built for. That's impossible, Lily whispered, checking her readings again. No living being could. Jack interrupted her by opening his repair kit and pulling out several tools. I need you both to listen carefully. I'm going to go in there and manually redirect the coolant flow. Lily, I need you to guide me through your systems. Maria, be ready to redirect power when I tell you. But the radiation, Maria protested, is about what you get from a day at the beach on Earth, Jack finished. Trust me, this isn't even the hottest situation I've worked in. Before they could protest further, Jack opened the first safety door. Heat immediately washed over him. But he ignored it, focusing on the task ahead. The Solaris watched in astonishment as he moved through temperatures their bodies couldn't even survive. Talk to me, Lily, he called out, reaching the main coolant control panel. Which systems do I need to bypass? Lily's voice came through his earpiece, her technical training overcoming her shock. Together, they began the complex process of rerouting the coolant systems. Jack's hands moved quickly despite the searing heat, sweat dripping down his face as he worked. Core temperature still rising, Maria reported anxiously. 15 minutes to critical. Almost there, Jack grunted, his fingers flying over the controls. He could feel the heat becoming more intense, but his body's natural cooling system, another gift from Earth's harsh evolution, kept him functioning. This is beyond anything in our medical records, he heard one of the Solaris crew members mutter. His body should be shutting down, but his vital signs are still stable. Jack allowed himself a small smile as he continued working. Sometimes, being from a death world had its advantages. After stabilizing the power core, Jack sat in the ship's medical bay, letting the Solaris doctors scan him with their advanced medical equipment. The doctor's crystalline eyes widened with each new reading, while Maria and Lily stood nearby, watching with intense curiosity. Fascinating, the doctor murmured. Your body has already begun repairing the minor heat damage to your outer skin layers. I've never seen cellular regeneration at this speed. Jack shrugged, taking a sip from his water bottle. That's normal for humans. We evolved to heal quickly because our world kept trying to kill us. Cuts, burns, breaks, they all heal pretty fast. Your world tried to kill you? Lily asked, moving closer. She had gradually become more comfortable around him over the past few hours. What do you mean? Earth isn't like your homeworld, Jack explained, setting down his water. We have earthquakes that can level cities, storms that can tear buildings apart, temperatures that swing from freezing to boiling. And that's just the weather. Don't even get me started on the wildlife. The Solaris crew members exchanged shocked looks. Their homeworld was a paradise of stable conditions and gentle creatures. The idea of evolving on a planet that actively challenged survival seemed impossible to them. "Tell us more about Earth," Maria requested, pulling up a chair. Her initial fear of him had been replaced by genuine interest. "What's it like to live in such conditions?" Jack smiled, remembering his home. "Well, take gravity, for example. Right now, in your ship's artificial gravity, I feel like I could jump to the ceiling. But on Earth, the pull is so strong that some species can't even stand up under their own weight. Is that why you're so dense?" Lily asked, then quickly added, "I mean, your muscle and bone structure." "Exactly," Jack nodded. "Everything on Earth has to be strong just to move around. But that strength came in handy when we started exploring space. We can handle conditions that would crush most species." The doctor finished his scans and stepped back, shaking his head in amazement. "According to these readings, you could survive conditions that would be lethal to 90% of known spacefaring species. Yet you use this capability to help others." "That's kind of our thing," Jack said with a smile. "Humans are tough, sure, but we're also curious. We love learning about other species, other cultures. It's why I became a space engineer, to meet new people and help them out." "But surely your strength would make you excellent warriors," one of the crew members suggested nervously. Jack's expression grew serious. "We can be, if we have to. But we learned long ago that building things is better than breaking them. That's why you'll find human engineers all over the galaxy, but you rarely hear about human soldiers." Maria moved closer, her silver skin shimmering under the medical bay lights. "I must admit, when we sent out the distress signal, I was worried about having a Deathworlder aboard. Our educational materials paint your kind as dangerous." "We can be dangerous," Jack acknowledged. "But mostly we're just adaptable. We had to be, to survive Earth. And that adaptability means we can help other species in situations they can't handle. Like fixing ships in deep space." Lily asked with what Jack had learned was the Solaris equivalent of a smile. "Exactly like that," he agreed. "Speaking of which, I should check on those coolant system repairs. Want to come along? I can show you some human repair techniques that might work even for your engineers." The Solaris crew members nodded eagerly, their fear completely replaced by curiosity. As they walked to the engine room, Jack realized that this was what he loved most about his job. Not just fixing ships, but building bridges between species, one repair at a time. The ship's warning alarms blared again, but this time Jack didn't panic. He stood in the engine control room with Lily and Maria, studying the complex network of system readings on the main display screen. "All right," he said, pointing to different sections of the ship's schematic. "We've fixed the hull breaches and stabilized the coolant system. But now comes the tricky part. We need to restart everything in exactly the right order." Lily nodded, her silver fingers dancing over the control panel. "Our normal restart sequence won't work. The damaged systems have created new power flow patterns." "Exactly," Jack agreed. "We need to do this manually. And we need to do it fast. The backup power won't last much longer." Maria looked between them, her crystalline eyes reflecting the red warning lights. "What do you need from us?" Jack quickly outlined his plan. "I'll need to be in 3 places at once. The main engine room, the power distribution center, and the auxiliary control room. Each system needs to be activated within seconds of the others." "But that's impossible," one of the other crew members protested. "Even with our fastest runners, we can't cover that much distance in time." Jack grinned. "Remember what I said about Earth gravity? In your ship's artificial gravity, I can move faster than any of your people. Plus, I can handle the power surges that'll happen during restart." The Solaris crew exchanged worried looks, but they had learned to trust the humans' unusual capabilities. Lily stepped forward, determination clear on her delicate features. I studied your repair techniques. Let me handle the auxiliary control room. I may not be as fast or strong as you, but I understand the systems. I'll coordinate from the bridge," Maria added. "We can do this together." Jack nodded approvingly. "That's the spirit. Team effort. Lily, you take auxiliary control. I'll handle the main engine room and power distribution. The tricky part will be running between them fast enough." They spent the next few minutes synchronizing their plans. Jack showed Lily exactly what sequences she needed to input, while Maria prepared the bridge systems for the restart. The rest of the crew watched in amazement as the human engineer moved heavy equipment into position with ease. "Ready?" Jack asked, standing by the main engine room controls. His muscles were tense, ready to sprint through the ship's corridors. "Ready," Lily confirmed over the comm. In the background, Maria's voice counted down from the bridge. "Initiating restart sequence in 3, 2, 1. Now." Jack's hands flew over the controls, his Earth-evolved reflexes allowing him to input commands faster than any Silurus could manage. The main engines hummed to life, and he was already running. The ship's corridors passed in a blur as he sprinted toward the power distribution center. His powerful legs, built for Earth's heavy gravity, propelled him forward at a speed that made the watching crew members gasp. "Power spike in Section 7. Maria's voice called out urgently. "I see it." Jack reached the distribution center, his fingers dancing over the controls. The power spike smoothed out just as another warning flashed. "Auxiliary systems ready," Lily reported, "but the power flow is unstable." Jack was already running again, his heart pounding with exertion, but his muscles still strong. This was what humans were built for. Short bursts of intense activity under pressure. He reached the final control panel just as the lights began to flicker. With precise movements, he initiated the last sequence, his enhanced strength allowing him to manually override a stuck control lever. "Come on," he muttered, watching the power levels. "Come on." The ship shuddered, and for a moment everything went dark. Then, one by one, the systems came online. The normal lights replaced the red emergency ones, and the familiar hum of a healthy spacecraft filled the air. Maria's voice came over the comm, filled with joy and disbelief. All systems are stable. We did it." From auxiliary control, Lily added, "The power flow is perfect. Better than before the accident, actually." Jack leaned against the wall, letting out a long breath. He could hear the Silurus crew cheering through the ship's corridors. A smile spread across his face. This was why he loved his job. 3 days after the crisis, the summer breeze hummed with perfect efficiency as it prepared to resume its journey. Jack stood in the main lounge, surrounded by the entire Silurus crew. The once fearful aliens now crowded close to him, their initial terror of the Deathworlder completely forgotten. "The ship is running better than when it was new," Lily announced, holding up her diagnostic pad. "Your repair techniques have actually improved our overall system efficiency by 12%. Jack smiled modestly. "I just applied a few human engineering principles. Sometimes being built to handle extreme conditions gives you a different perspective on problem solving." Maria stepped forward, her tall form moving with the natural grace of her species. In her hands, she held an ornate silver box. "The Silurus High Council has contacted us about your actions," she began formally. Jack straightened up, wondering if he had somehow violated their technical protocols or cultural taboos. But Maria's crystalline eyes sparkled with what he now recognized as happiness. "They were quite shocked when we sent them the repair logs," she continued. "No one believed a single engineer could accomplish what you did. But the results are undeniable." She opened the box, revealing a gleaming badge. "This is the highest honor our engineering guild can bestow. You are now the first non-Silurus ever to be named a master engineer of our fleet." The crew applauded as Jack accepted the badge, careful not to crush the delicate metalwork with his human strength. He was touched by the gesture. Silurus technology was renowned throughout the galaxy, and their engineering guild was legendarily exclusive. That's not all, Lily added excitedly. The Council has approved my proposal for a human Solaris engineering exchange program. We want to learn more about how your species approaches problems and share our own knowledge in return. Really? Jack's eyes lit up. That would be incredible. There's so much we could learn from each other. One of the younger crew members raised her hand tentatively. Is it true what you said about Earth having schools where people learn to repair things in active volcanoes? Jack laughed. Well, not exactly in volcanoes, but we do have some pretty extreme training environments. Maybe some of your engineers would like to visit our space stations. The gravity would be adjusted for your comfort, of course. The crew chattered excitedly at this prospect. Where once they had feared human strength, now they saw it as a fascinating advantage to be studied and understood. You've changed more than our ship, Maria said quietly. You've changed how we think about humans, about Deathworlders. We always thought your strength made you dangerous, but now we see it makes you excellent protectors and helpers. That's what humanity does best, Jack replied. We adapt, we help, we build bridges, sometimes literally. He patted the nearby wall. Speaking of which, I should show your engineers how to maintain those hull modifications before I leave. Leave? Several voices protested at once. My repair station will need me back, Jack explained. But I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of each other, especially with this new exchange program. Lily stepped forward, holding out a data crystal. We took detailed scans of everything you did. The Engineering Guild wants to create a new course, Human Repair Techniques for Extreme Conditions. Would you consider being a guest instructor? Jack took the crystal, grinning broadly. I'd be honored. And I know plenty of other human engineers who'd love to collaborate with Solaris technicians. As the crew gathered around him to ask more questions about Earth and human engineering, Jack felt a deep satisfaction. He had come to fix a ship, but he had helped build something far more important, understanding between species. So, he said, looking at the eager faces around him, who wants to learn about how humans handle plasma welding in zero gravity? The entire crew raised their hands, and Jack knew this was just the beginning of a beautiful partnership between two very different species who had found common ground among the stars.